Welcome to Mam's Talk, where Mam's Talk Survivor. Today we will be diving into episode 3 of Survivor Manhattan. All right, so we'll just jump into it. So we open up. The dragon fruits are eating their rice cakes. So
Indeed.
both tribes are doing a little bit of the rice bit, and we get some riveting content about your preferred rice cake flavors.
Yeah, I think it was really important that we talked about this at this moment. You know, we didn't go to tribal, and this was the content that we thought was worth filming and also spending our precious minutes speaking about. I did want to say that I thought it was funny because this is not the rice cakes were not a survivor joke. It was because Zach couldn't eat anything else besides plain rice cakes, but it was fitting for the theme.
Yeah, if he was gonna bring anything, that was a
Yeah.
good to bring. All right, so then we go to the succulents who are gaming, and we've known this from the start. So they finally realize how hard it is to vote someone off. So it's interesting to see that next to the episode 1 where they're like, I wonder if they're gonna vote off. And
Yeah.
we get this like vibe as if someone has literally died.
Yeah, it's incredibly awkward and so much silence, and Allie's filling that silence with her words as per usual. Everyone's kind of standing around like hands on their hips, like, huh,
Like
what's going on?
out of context, if someone had showed me that video, like CJ's literally like staring at the ground as if he just killed someone. Um,
Hmm.
that's what I would have expected. I'm like, oh, they just did something horrible. But no, they
Yeah.
just did,
Yeah. And
a little bit.
I feel like Allie's really like trying to self-soothe, yeah, herself, but also everyone else, like, oh, well, he didn't really want to play the social game, and he also was not feeling good, and we did it for his safety. Like, it was all very trying to come up with all the reasons why Liam was the one who left, as if it wasn't the easiest, most kind vote out ever.
Yeah.
Um,
And also she says a line that I think is really funny. He was a good kid.
he was a good kid, is no longer, but he
Who
was.
I do think that Liam is older than her, which is a funny little
Yeah.
bit. But yeah, so everyone's contemplating life a little bit. And Allie is filling the space being loud behind the camera. Um, and then we go into actual game talk. They quickly get over it, clearly.
Yeah.
Um, the people are looking for idols. Gabby and Allie are talking about getting CJ out. Obviously, Allie, this is not her intention,
Hmm.
but that's what they're talking about. Does Gabby actually want to do this? Is the question. Are they both bullshitting each other?
I think that is the question. And I always have with like either Gabby or CJ, because it really seems like they have no spousal alliance whatsoever. But, it's really hard to tell what they're hiding, perhaps from not only the rest of the tribe, but maybe even from like the cameras, like not necessarily on purpose, but just things that aren't being filmed. Who knows if they actually really want to go at each other the way they're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. So I also just thought this was like a little funny moment. Like CJ's like, there's Olivia looking for idols, and there's like a zoom in on her, and she's like very intensely looking for idols the entire time that she is playing. I have
Mm-hmm.
so much footage of her just like looking in random trees and stuff. And again, we've talked about this, but they go way too deep into the woods for
Yeah,
the small little game we were playing.
yeah, she had the idol hat on like from minute one. She thought I feel like that was like her entire strategy going in was find an idol, and she hasn't
Yeah.
really looked too much outside of that at this point.
I think the season that she watched was she'd only watched one season. It was Co-Wrong, where idols are
Hmm.
kind of a biggish part of it. So I think in her mind that like she's like, I have to get the idols. That's the only way I'm gonna like get far, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's super apt that she is looking for a lot of idols, as well as the rest of the succulents looking for a lot of idols as well, while the dragon fruits haven't even started looking for idols at this point. It feels very old school versus new school tribe energies we have happening.
Oh, that's a really good comparison. Um I also just thought it was interesting. I am canonically in this version, I'm exclusively called Kay Anita, which is not something I usually go by in real life, but both tribes have called me Kay Anita in multiple occurrences.
I wasn't part of this. I
Well,
wasn't part of
Liz said it in episode 1. She's like, "Well, I know
Yeah.
Kay Anita," and she said, "Blah blah." Whatever. It's not that important.
Well, I think that there was a conversation that happened before the game started where it was like, we're gonna call Kay Jeff. And I said, don't do that. She won't like it. And then they said, okay, okay, we'll call her Kay Anita. That'll be her host name. That was what
Yeah,
was discussed.
I feel like when people do these fan made survivors, a lot of times they put on like a Jeff like impersonation hat, and they just
Mm-hmm.
like try to do whatever he does. And we're all our own people to the end of the day. Like, bring your own character to the table.
BYOC.
Be seeing your own character. But yeah, so we're going past this, and yeah, so Allie's talking to Caroline about targeting Gabby and getting her out pre-merge, and they seem to be on the same page. um I think it's interesting that they're targeting Gabby. Do you think that they're afraid of what could happen with like CJ?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like Allie says, I can't remember if it's in the show or if she has just said it like off camera, but like she wasn't really concerned about them being like a power couple or whatever, because she knows they're both really competitive in their own way and that they would probably end up going against each other more than anything. But I do think it's something that you're inherently going to be thinking about, like in the same way we're talking about everyone's like relationships to everybody else on the season in the myriad of ways that we know each other.
Yeah, I think there's also a thought that she'll be a really big threat post merge.
Yeah.
Just because she does have that physicality. Like, I think she's good like socially, and like
Yeah.
she's very competitive, so I think that's
Yeah.
part of it.
I do think it was more based on the fact that she's an extremely well-rounded player and she like means business. That was sort of what I was taking away from their fear of her as a
Yeah,
player.
she's a boss babe, as
Mm-hmm.
we know. Yeah, so and then we get to, there's a text on the screen, and it says like eliminated players are told they're not allowed to interact with the current players in the game. And then it cuts to Liam standing at the succulents camp looking like a little lost puppy dog.
No,
And
he looks like he came to like tattle.
he's literally, no, he's literally just sitting there like clearly doesn't know like what is what. Um
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but he's there, and it's revealed that he told the rest of the Succulents tribe that Allie told him to vote Gabby, which we did not
Mm-hmm.
see in the edit, but
Yeah.
it did happen. And Allie is not happy.
Yeah, she's trying to put on a brave face, but she's like, we're fighting. She
Yeah.
seems
Oh,
rattled.
I would be. I mean,
Yeah.
I wonder what Gabby's conclusion was about where those vote, like where that vote came from, like what was the origin of it,
Mm-hmm.
how she felt.
Yeah, I am. Well, she seemed not upset, but I guess upset in the game sense of it. That she was the decoy vote.
She
Like
definitely
when
seemed
we,
at least surprised. Yeah.
yeah, I think she was like concerned about that a little. I don't think it slipped past her at all.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though, because in the edit, it looks like CJ's the one that tells Liam that,
Right.
but I
But
guess
maybe it was a bad bitches only conglomerate situation where
that,
like everybody kind of came together to agree that she was going to be the decoy, except probably not Olivia, I would guess. But
yeah, which is interesting because
yeah,
Olivia is Liam's closest friend in that group,
yeah.
but they
I
didn't
know
seem to
not a
have a
lot
game
of,
relationship.
yeah, not a lot of footage of people talking to Olivia about where the vote was going,
Yeah,
from
they
what I'm
had that all
remembering.
girls group.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess that was where it came from. It was like, okay, he's one of the guys. Let's get rid of him.
Yeah, essentially.
Anyway, we're talking too much about last
Too
episode,
much
I
about
think.
last episode. I mean, it does all
Yeah.
come into
Yeah.
the fallout because
Mhm.
of what
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
revealed to the rest of the tribe via Liam. Whether or not that has an impact, do you think it's gonna make people like distrust her, or do you think it's kind of just like, all right, whatever, Liam's here?
Yeah, I think that it is totally valid if people don't trust her after that. I think that, like, obviously it's kind of a game breaking situation. Liam broke the rules. It wasn't really something that was supposed to be shared. So that's frustrating, and hopefully it won't impact the game in that way because it really shouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't blame anyone if they were like, Allie's next because
yeah,
of that.
for sure. Okay, so we're going into the challenge now. It is revealed that Liam has been voted out, and the dragon fruits do not seem as surprised as the succulents were the week before. The week before, a couple, like the hour before. Um,
We had
Liam,
like no reaction.
no,
There's
literally,
like
like
a
Liam's gone. You guys are like, okay,
well, we had also, I think, kind of come to the conclusion that if he went, it was because of his concussion, and it seemed like a very um easy vote. Like, I think it was just one of those things that wasn't going to ruffle anyone's feathers, and that's
yeah,
always good to have as a first vote in on your
mhm,
tribe. So no alliances need to be like shown right away. Um,
right. So I explained the challenge is carrying the weight of your tribe, which is in the show. It's usually some form of like they have like physical weights and like, they'll have to hold them up. And then if someone drops out, like someone else has to pick up the bag, or they'll do like a running challenge with like
mhm,
bags of sand or something like that.
mhm.
I couldn't spend the money and like do the trek of carrying actual weights up. So I said, I know what I'll do. I will make people lift up one of their tribe mates to a height where if they get dropped, will be potentially damaging. Um, don't know why that was the thought. Didn't
Mhm.
think that through.
Certainly not.
But I love the idea of that like concept. It's like you like literally
Mhm.
see like who is like a dead weight in the tribe, like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's just hard to
right.
do on a budget.
Yeah, and it also like did not go on long enough for anyone to even remotely need to drop out. So it
And
was
thank
like,
God.
and thank God it ended so quickly. Yeah.
No, the second it started, I don't know if you can really see it in the footage, but like I'm literally like, oh no, oh no, like
Yeah.
I this
The whole time we were setting up for it, I was like, I can't believe we're doing this. I can't believe we're doing this.
yeah, yeah. Also, before it starts, like I explain like the concept or whatever, and then everyone's just like, wait, what? I didn't get it. Hard cut to the start.
But all and also the second that I remember the second that this was announced as the next challenge, I was like, fuck, we shouldn't have gotten rid of Dom. I was like, huge mistake on our part, because like he would have been a big help with this one.
Definitely.
Um I don't think I was really anticipating just in general how physical the challenges were going to be. That wasn't something I was prepared for in
Yeah,
general.
clearly. Um, but yeah, I'm very glad that no one got hurt. And we live to see another day.
Yeah, no one died that day.
Yeah, because we could have had another concussion.
Yeah.
Not have
Thank God
been.
Liam was voted out at this point.
Well, yeah. Wait, who sat out of the show? No one had to sit out. Just kidding. Because it was even.
Right, because we were even at this
Right.
point.
So he would have had to do it.
Yep, if he didn't go home. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously this is done really quickly. Especially in that small parameter that we have there.
Hmm.
It just like wasn't a perimeter. It wasn't gonna last very long, no matter what.
Yeah.
But the succulents win because they have
Hmm.
that physical strength, and then
Yep.
the dragon fruits have to vote somebody else out.
Yes. We
So
were devastated.
yeah. So we get back to the dragon fruits camp, and Ella and Zach are talking about who they're gonna get out. Liz is thrown out. Dylan is also a question.
Hmm.
And Zach thinks that Liz might flip to Caroline post-merge.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. But
And
also I think fair.
yeah, and Liz is gonna come in later. We should have talked about it at the top of the episode, but we're gonna have her come in later to discuss her thoughts during this episode. And I would love to hear where she stood in terms of merge.
Yeah.
Do we think that she would have flipped, looking back on it?
It's hard to say. But I don't really think she had any loyalty to us. Like we just had voted out her husband and left her like out of the loop of that. I
Yeah.
don't really feel like we were creating a great working relationship with her in general. So I totally wouldn't be surprised if she flipped
Do you think
come
you could have like
merge.
pulled her in and like made her more included on the rest of the votes and she would have been fine?
I do think that I could have worked with her. I honestly didn't really want her to be the one to go this round. I feel like it was sort of just what ended up happening with like the frantic timing of everything, and like we didn't actually get a chance to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
um and like even listening to Zach talking about Dylan potentially going, I think that would have been a good option for us despite him being really good in the challenges. But Liz was also helpful in the challenges, so again I think it's another one of those like Dom versus Dylan things, you're losing out on a challenge
Well, she was
benefit.
the lightest one that she had to be
So
lifted.
true. Yeah, who else would we have lifted?
Right. Um,
um
so we're cutting back to the succulents for a second, and we'll return back to the dragon fruit. So Caroline is plotting with CJ to get out his wife Gabby. And they're watching her get an idol, like looking for an idol, and Caroline says, and that's what's gonna get her sent home, which to me is like really, and it's very casual. Like she's not saying it as if she knows she's saying something like kind of ice queeny. Like she's just like, and that's what's gonna get her sent home. And I'm living for it. And I mean this in the best way possible. It's giving Nicole Franzel energy. And I know a lot of people are not the Frenzel fans, but I think that she plays a really good game with like that like innocent, like even when she says stuff like this, like you kind of are just like, oh well, she's she doesn't really know what's like going on because she's so, like frail or whatever, and innocent.
Let's talk about the farm girl ice queen energy we have happening
What do you
with
mean
the
she's
two
a
of them.
PA for Mariah Carey?
Sorry, in her history, she has history with farming.
She is, yeah, she is a
But she moved
farmer.
to the big city to
We'll
be the
learn
PA
that
for Mariah
we'll learn
Carey.
that next season that she is a farmer. But yeah, no, you're so right. Like they have that like farming adjacent energy, at least. I don't know what Nicole.
All I know about Nicole's farming adjacent energy is that she was like in her BB16 package, she's like pushing a bale of hay
There you go.
of some kind. So
Yeah, obviously this is a Survivor podcast,
yeah.
but Big Brother will be discussed from time to time because we also have love for her. Yeah, so just a little observation that I kind of clicked for me.
Yeah.
Anything else about the succulents before we go back?
I just like continue to be baffled by how much they're gaming compared to the dragon fruits. It's
Yeah,
actually like ridiculous that we are doing so little discussion about anything.
yeah. I do have to say, I think, and whether or not it ends up working this way is a different story, but Caroline being so like Gabby has to go to CJ, it could be a bad move because it's like literally his wife.
Right.
And like we don't know what their relationship is in this game. So like I think maybe she could have tread that a little bit lighter. Because she seems
Yeah, it is
very like
interesting.
aggressively like we need to get Gabby out, you know?
Yeah. It is interesting too because I feel like so far Caroline's held her cards pretty close to her chest. Um and we're seeing her kind of open up a little more, be a little bit more openly pushy about her agenda
Yeah.
here.
All right. So we're going back to the dragon fruits. And Liz is talking to Ella and they're having a little funny banter. about like Survivor, like, like we're starving, like I'm gonna go nibble on some leaves, like whatever. And it's very funny, it's very cute, the little Survivor bits. And then they like very quickly are like, okay, who are we getting out? And like obviously to me, like I read that as like both of them like clearly not wanting to talk game with the other. So they just like this like
Yeah.
this like fun energy happening so that they don't have to talk about the real stuff. Yeah. So and then Ella gives her some kind of thing about like, I don't want you out because you're strong. And then just was funny to me. Liz responds, she goes, oh, I feel the same way about you. Like it sounded very convincing.
Yeah, they're clearly working. They have a final two,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
I just noted that I am impressed by Ella's lying because I don't know that. I mean, I don't know how true what she's saying to Liz is, but I think she's certainly embellishing how good she feels about her. And I just think she does a good job
yeah.
at,
I mean, they're clearly both bullshitting each other.
yeah.
And interesting, they don't come to any sort of conclusion during this conversation at all.
Mm-hmm.
They're just kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, like who could we vote out? And no one says a name. It's just like, well, do you vote out a strong person? Do you vote out someone who's a threat? Do
Mm-hmm.
you vote out like a floater? But no one actually like says a name, which,
Right. And then they're like, well, not you, not you.
but not you,
So
not
somebody else.
somebody
Yeah.
else. But that should like, trigger like an alarm bell for both of them
Mm-hmm.
that neither of them are giving them anything. Um,
Right.
yeah. So that conversation ends,
I
and
also think it's interesting the way people are speaking about the merge. Somebody else said, oh, I think Gabby said something like, oh, well, we're doing so well in the challenges. Like the merge, once we get to, if we merge soon, we'll be golden because we have the number. Well, like we'll have the numbers. But I just think it's interesting because like it's only vote 3. And we're like really already talking about merge, which I think
I
is an
mean,
interesting strategy.
there were only 12 people, so that's not like
Yeah.
a terrible conclusion. 9
Mm-hmm.
people, like at the merge is not
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had a couple of twists up my sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it, but I think that the assumption, um, it was a little bold to be like, well, we have to vote out someone strong because we can't let them get to the merge.
Yeah. Right.
Because we had no idea when that was happening. So
Yeah, I think it was a bull it was a choice, a strategic choice to be already be thinking about the individual game when like we kept losing challenges, you know.
for sure. Um, so yeah, Dylan is talking to Ella now. And
Hmm.
we've already established that they're kind of like a power duo a little bit.
Yeah.
And they seem to disagree about who they want out.
Hmm.
Dylan wants Jess out and Ella wants
Hmm.
Liz.
Yeah, and then but then Ella says between me and Zach, she would rather I go because she thinks I'm gonna flop, is what she said.
I think she meant
Whatever that
flip
means.
flop.
Yeah.
I think she meant flip flop. But
I
flop
think
is
so.
funny.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna be so bad at the merge, we shouldn't even let you get there.
We shouldn't even
Like you're
bother.
gonna be
Yeah.
such a flop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's interesting because Dylan's like, well, I want Jess out for strength.
Yeah.
You're like, because we need the strength.
Yeah.
And then Ella's like, oh, well, we should get out Liz because she's strong. And also
Hmm.
because Jess is gonna, but well, she just kind of say Liz.
She said that Liz is also gonna
Yeah,
flip flop. And I think that Ella is focused. Ella said she was focused in this conversation on who's gonna create a strong dragon fruits conglomerate in the
right.
merge. So she wanted people who were going to remain strong to the dragon fruits, and I guess she felt that Liz was the least likely to stick by the group.
Yeah. I think there was a hint of that, like thinking the assumption that the merge was gonna happen also in that. I think that's
Hmm.
like part of it. And then like we also don't want a threat coming,
Yeah.
like coming with us. So it was kind of like a twofer. So the tribal is beginning. We get no like thoughts from you, Nothing
Yeah.
really, like, or at least like you two together.
Yeah, I felt like I had no conversations. Like, I think I talked to maybe two people. I'm not sure. But I remember walking into this tribal and just being like, I truly, no one has told me a name. And I think I went to Ella and I just was like, who are you voting for? And she told me. And I was like, all right, that's who I'm writing down. Because at least I know I'm voting with some sort of group.
Yeah.
And whether or not it's going to be me, I'll at least try and put my votes on the person
Did that
other
like
people might be voting for.
did that raise any like red flags for you that no one had told you a name until you were walking to tribal?
Yeah, it did. And but I also was just more concerned about me being like on the right. I was less concerned about me going and more concerned about me being on potentially like the right side of whatever vote was happening. Because I felt like I was out of the loop. It did feel more like it was a time constraint and less like I was being excluded.
Yeah.
That is at least what my perception was.
Yeah. But clearly you were almost gone at least.
Yeah, yeah, which is interesting because I just don't know where Liz got my name. I'm just curious about that. Because
Yeah.
like you said, Ella didn't say a name, but it's possible that Liz just felt like I was the weakest and just went with that, you
And
know?
that's worth
Um,
asking her as well.
yeah.
Yeah, so the tribal starts, and it's just something I noticed. Obviously the audio issues are still there, but I'm sitting so far away. It's like if you scoot up a little closer, we can bring the camera closer and then we can hear a little better.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
was
it
like,
was a terrible setup.
this is where the chair is sitting, and I will not move it.
And also like also tilted yet again.
I'm telling it's propped up by a cooler
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
chair. And it
Yeah.
falls a couple times as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that. Like it's barely
Yeah.
hanging on. So be
We
happy
didn't have
that
one
it's
single
up.
tripod.
No, it literally just like leaned up against
Yeah.
whatever. All right.
Yeah.
So something else I noticed was Ella is sitting on the Skinny Atlas blanket.
Oh my God, little foreshadowing.
Little foreshadowing moment. And something I wanted to bring up is because we talked about last episode with Allie when her chair broke, that chairs represent life in the game. And I'm just taking note of who's sitting on a chair versus a blanket and like who's like breaking
Mm-hmm.
chairs, things like that. I think it's very interesting. Episode 1, I went back and looked. On the blanket is Liz and Zach. Next vote opportunity, Liz is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then second episode, Allie breaks her chair. We'll see if any of these have ramifications, obviously. Um, and then this episode, Ella is on the blanket.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I haven't looked at any of the rest of the blanket moments here throughout the rest of the season. So as we go along, I'm just gonna be taking note of who's sitting where. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe in curses in this game to an extent, and
Yeah.
I just want to look. I just want to know.
Yeah, it's just like a little game. A little
It's a little
game.
game. Yeah, okay. So everyone is seemingly like really liking each other. They're saying like we're one big happy family. Like I don't want to vote anyone out. But then like when you're looking back at the conversations, I feel like that's not what we're getting.
Yeah, and honestly, I was like so annoyed with the like the like happy family stuff. Like I was like, God, you're so boring. Like, where's the drama? Where is the suspense? Like I felt like I just feel like we haven't started playing. Like obviously some people are playing, but I think the overall vibe of the tribe is that we were not yet playing. And it was frustrating me watching it back.
Yeah.
And I'm the biggest I can't think of the word perpetrator of this happy family thing. Like maybe get your head in the game.
Get your head in the game. This is serious. This is not a little birthday party. You have to listen
Mm-hmm.
to your own thoughts. I'm not here
Yeah,
for
me not like following through on my little villain arc that I wanted at all.
yeah.
Oh, I also wanted to say my outfit got better when I tied the little denim thing together.
Huge.
Just putting it out there.
Well, now we might be getting into Jerry Manthey territory.
Yes, I think we might be reaching the vision I had.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so it's just I wrote down that you're seemingly out of the loop here because you were told last second. We talked
Hmm.
about that. I'm interested to see how that plays out. Um, and then we get the canon in the show from Liz that she's voting you out because you have arthritis.
Yes, I said Liz is so ableist here. Wow.
You have like your little like wrist
My like,
your brace or
yeah,
whatever.
my compression glove.
Yeah, which I don't think
Yeah.
did you any favors because it's basically like,
No.
guys, disability.
Yeah. Well, I also just want to say that my arthritis is so much worse now than it was when I was doing this, and yet it was still being talked about as a, like, my wrist is so much worse.
Don't tell
Um
people that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Shh.
Yeah. Um,
But yeah, I got, it seems that I was seen as the clear weak link of our tribe
yeah.
here.
Which is why we get the close vote of 3-2, which I gotta say was suspenseful.
Hmm.
Like it really did seem like either of you could go. And then it was
I
like
know.
back and forth, and then the last vote. It really came down to Ella. Like she had the power here.
Yeah. Wait, can you remind me? Dylan voted for me,
Dylan
right?
votes for
Yeah.
you, and Liz votes for you. And then
Yeah.
obviously Zach is voting for Liz, just
Hmm.
because he knows you better. And then Ella
Yeah.
is clearly in the middle, like doesn't quite know where to go.
Yeah. And Ella's the one that told me Liz
Mhm.
walking in. She was like, I don't know, I'm going Liz. And I wonder if she had known that when she was going in, or if she was, still deciding at that last second.
Yeah, I mean, because it is interesting that her and Dylan are not on the same page
Yeah.
here.
I it is interesting. I thought that they would have come to some kind of consensus by the time they got to trial. But again, I feel like we really were playing fast and loose with our time, and we did not have the conversations we needed to be having. So it's possible that everyone was feeling the same level of unsure about where the votes were falling that I was.
Yeah.
I definitely was shook by the fact that I got not only one but two votes. You can see in the tribal that I'm feeling very shaken up about that.
Yeah, looking back on it, do you like remember who you thought it was?
I thought that we were all just gonna go Liz. I mean, I didn't know who the
No, I
decoy
meant
would
like who
be.
did you
Oh,
think voted for you? Like if you could
oh,
remember that far.
I definitely don't remember. I definitely thought it was obviously Liz, and then I think I probably did just assume it was Dylan
Okay.
because I had not really talked to Dylan like at
Yeah.
all.
And I think we get another of like symptom of I don't watch enough Survivor in the fact that
Hmm.
Liz forgets that she can play the shot in the dark. Um
Yeah, well, it's funny because I don't even know that she forgot. She just like didn't remember the exact method to do it, and that it had to be while she was voting.
well, she says like when I say like no one has played the shot in the dark, she goes, "Oh, can I do that now?"
Oh, right, yeah.
So I think she like literally forgot it. Like it was
Yeah. No, you're right. I couldn't hear you say that because the audio is so bad. Yeah, no, definitely I do believe that she would have played it if she had remembered.
I think so because it's clear that she, at least by saying that, she knew that she
Hmm.
was like in jeopardy,
Yeah.
but just didn't do it. And then it is revealed that she would have been saved, and that would have
Hmm.
been the first shot in the dark saved in all of Survivor history.
Yeah, at this point, yep.
It would have been monumental, and then you would have
Yep.
gone,
And then I would have gone and I would have been like, good for you, Liz.
hey, good for her, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and we would have gotten a really great tribal out of that, and I would have been
Yeah.
excited. Yeah.
Hmm.
So then obviously Liz leaves. And then we get the beautiful post-season confessional where she quotes I think Snooki says this in Jersey Shore, "I'm the sweetest bitch you'll ever meet. And after I have sex with a guy, I will rip his head off." And I
Thank
just
God.
that's a beautiful way to cap her story.
Definitely. Thank you for your service, Liz. You provided so much.
The content was there for sure. Um But yeah, so we're gonna bring Liz in and we're gonna ask her a couple questions and we'll get some insight on where her head was at during this vote. All right, and with us is our third boot, Liz. So, first of all, thank you for being here. I just want to ask, how did you feel participating in this game? Like, was it up to your expectations?
Well, thank you for having me on your podcast. I really enjoyed playing. I wish I lasted longer because I thought it was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
My expectations, I really didn't have a lot. Because I had never played before. I didn't know what being in Central Park was going to be like because there's so many different areas of the park, so I didn't even know what it would really look like. But I had a lot of fun. So I was bummed that I
Yeah,
got out.
I
Yeah.
was I was also bummed because you were
Mhm.
content. Um, do you think you could have done anything differently to help you stay in the game?
Honestly, I feel like I did really well in the challenge. And I think I was, I knew a lot of people coming in, but I think I was getting along well with everybody. I feel like my biggest hindrance was just having the relationship with Dom because people saw that as a threat. And
Mhm.
I know sometimes on the show, like people tend to go after the couples or the preconceived relationships first. So I feel like that was probably my biggest hindrance and not really anything in particular that I did.
Yeah, and we talked to Dom about this too, but when we look back at this season, Gabby and CJ don't seem to have that issue. What do you
Hmm.
think they did that was like successful that people weren't targeting them?
I was wondering the same thing because I thought about that as well. I was like, why did my team go after the couple, whereas the other team, who also had a married couple, did not go after them? I'm still kind of questioning that myself.
Yeah,
I don't really, yeah.
not only did they not go after them, like they felt comfortable to talk about the other one with them in terms of getting the other one out, which I think is really
Mm,
interesting. Like, Caroline like
Yeah.
throws out like Gabby, and like Allie is talking to Gabby about getting CJ out. So very interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
I wonder if they just like made it so known that they were like ready to play, like in a way that
hmm.
like was just gonna throw relationships to the side. I don't know. Hard to say. I wasn't on the tribe.
Right. That probably, for next time, taking notes from what they did, letting it known, out there that I'm okay with eliminating Dom and that he's okay with eliminating me,
yeah,
that would probably help us next time.
right.
Yeah.
Uh, so you mentioned your challenge performance, and I think some people were surprised by just how good you were, at least at that first challenge. Um, and in the way that Dom was not good at all. Like, did you expect to outshine your husband in such a way?
With like the more physical, let's say like sport like challenge, I thought he would do a lot better than me because generally he's more athletic than I am. But I don't know, maybe he was just so confident and I was kind of coming at it more cautiously. I'm like, okay, I gotta be careful and really focus and really try to like articulate this well. So I think I was coming in a little more cautious and I guess maybe that helped me a little bit.
Yeah, when we talked to Dom about the episode one, he referred to the character he was playing as a bad boy. Did you come in with a character?
I did not come in with a character. No.
Yeah.
I did not come in with a lot of strategy whatsoever. I still like can't really identify a strategy. I kind of like I said before, I didn't really know what to expect. So for me going in, I was kind of just like, okay, let's just see what happens. So I guess that was my strategy, kind of not having an idea ahead of time. So no, I did not have a character really whatsoever.
Yeah, and I know that Jess, and you could talk about this as well. There seemed to be some concern about you potentially flipping to the other side. Also, you, Jess,
Yeah.
first of all, did you have concern about Liz flipping?
Me have
Yeah.
concern about Liz flipping. I was way less concerned about you flipping than say like I don't know Dylan or Ella. I felt like them two were way more likely to flip to work with like the like other succulents like Allie or CJ or Gabby. But I really wanted to work together more, Liz. I feel like we like because it was either me or you in this vote, so I feel like we kind of got screwed a little bit.
Yeah, we're just curious if you had made it to the merge with the trajectory that this like season was going on, like would you think you would have like stayed with the dragon fruits, or would you have maybe been like, hey Caroline?
So the dragon fruits, we were all getting along really well. Like I was really enjoying my time with everyone. And like I said, I didn't really have any thoughts about the game going in. So I totally would have stayed like loyal to the dragon fruits. I know I was watching the clip back and I saw like Zach mentioned to Ella that he was worried about me flipping because I'm close with Caroline. I mean, he's also close with Caroline. I think he kind of just said that just because we had to pick someone and he was just looking for a reason to identify someone because we were all kind of struggling like who do we want to choose. Nobody really wanted anyone, like we all were just kind of basically throwing anyone out there. And
Yeah.
I know my name and Jess's name got suggested, so I think anyone was like, oh well, let's think of every reason why this person might potentially flip, and so that was thrown out. But yeah, no, I didn't have any particular plans to flip or anything like that. I definitely would have stayed loyal because I thought our team was getting along really well. So
Yeah, I do think it's interesting because you and Jess were probably the closest pair that was still there, but you guys kind of went against each other. So did you feel like you
Yeah.
could have come together in any sort of way? And this is for both of you.
yeah, I think we kind of, like I said before, there wasn't like an obvious person who we wanted to get rid of. Like we really didn't want to vote anyone out, I felt like. So I don't even remember who said it, but I think Jess's name was thrown out. So I was just like, okay, cool, I'll go with it. It was kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I really didn't want Liz to go. Like, you were not the person that I was thinking about voting for. I really wanted Dylan to go. Um, he was the one that I was hoping that people would go with, but I was just told your name at like literally the last second, and I didn't want to be on the wrong side of the vote. So I was kind of just like, I guess this is what's happening. I also was worried about, in theory, getting rid of Dylan, like because he was gonna be helpful with the physical challenges as well. So it was like kind of there wasn't really a good answer. I think if we had been focusing on tribe strength, neither of you would have been the ones to go. But I don't know. It's just the time and like all the talking to all the people was very confusing and a lot of different things were said.
Yeah, I like that you brought up time, and this is something that we've been talking about throughout all these episodes, is it seems like the succulents use their time a lot more efficiently in terms of like this really fast-paced game. And the bits are fun. We love the bits. But it felt like sometimes because you had such little time, like that time could have been used better. Do you think that that was like a factor in you potentially going here?
Yeah, I think that could contribute. I think, like I've said before, we were all kind of enjoying each other's company. We were all kind of hanging
Yeah.
out. We didn't really get down to business and start talking about who we thought should go immediately. We kind of were like hanging out and then we're like, okay, we should probably figure this out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I would definitely next time I would definitely start talking about that like at the get-go and be more forward and direct about that.
Yeah, and that's very fair. I think sometimes people get too into the strategy, and social game is really important. And I think that if the other, like if what was happening, if you had won this challenge, I don't think you guys would have been as cutthroat within the tribe as the succulents were. I think that you guys probably would have stayed together for the merge. That's my read on it, at least.
Yeah,
I
would
think
agree
that's
with
fair.
that. Yeah, I also think it's funny. Like, I just feel like we kept not learning our lesson with the time thing. Like, we were screwed over with like not having enough time to talk about getting rid of Dom, and then the same thing happened here. I just feel like we needed to put our gaming hats on a little more. I think we also like the thing with Survivor that I was not prepared for was I kind of thought that the strategy would just sort of happen. You don't really think about the fact that you have to like make it happen. Like, I thought people would be pulling me to talk, and I thought people would be like, I don't know. I just thought it would happen around me, but you have to like be the driving force of like the strategy or else you get left out. you know.
All right. And the question everyone's asking, why didn't you play the shot in the dark?
Honestly, I felt like I was kind of 50-50. I felt good because we were all getting along. There was no obvious person to vote out. So in my head, I'm like, okay, this is kind of random. I didn't really have super specific reason to believe it's me. But then on the other hand, I was like, okay, well, Dom just went home, and that surprised me because I wasn't involved in that decision. So I was a little bit skeptical, but so I still felt good because no one had given me like any inclination that I was the one who was targeted. So, like I said, I was kind of 50-50 with that, and it really was just basing it on my gut feeling in that moment. And
Yeah.
I felt pretty content, and I was like, let me save the shot in the dark for a moment in the future when I feel like I'm actually in danger. So
Yeah.
that's why I didn't play it.
But it seems like, so when I got up to the podium to announce that no one had played it, then you say like, oh, like, can I play it now? So was it a matter of like when you're going up to vote, you're kind of like, oh, I don't really want to play it, but then once you sat down, like you had like an uneasy feeling. Did you kind of know at that point?
I don't think I knew yet. I just think the longer that I sat there, the more nervous I got. So then I was like, oh crap, I should have done it. Like, can I still do it? Like the more you sit and wait, your nerves just build and build. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much what that was. Yeah.
Yeah, but you did seem to have like a good read on the fact that you were in danger, so good for you. Um, yeah, and you kind of mentioned it, but I just want to get a clearer picture, like why did you end up voting for Jess?
I ended up voting for Jess. She was really the first name that someone else threw out, and I
You
kind
don't
of
remember
just
who that
jumped on
was?
it. Ella mentioned it to me, I believe. I think she mentioned Jess and one other person. I don't really remember, but I was like, okay, sure, because I didn't really have anyone I wanted to go after. I felt like I was like I didn't want to target anyone. I was like trying to keep the peace, but like we found someone's name out. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll go with it. So it wasn't really super thought out or anything like that. It was just like, what's the group going with kind of thing.
Gotcha. All right. And at the end of each episode, we crown an episode MVP. So after watching the episode, who do we think is the most deserving of that title? Does anyone want to start? We can discuss.
I can start with mine. Okay. I was reluctant to crown this person because they're a previous MVP winner so far. But I did say Ella again because she pretty much decided who went home. She was a swing vote in this scenario.
Yeah, I also said Ella. I do want to give a shout out to Caroline here because it seems like she's like working with CJ really well, like against Gabby. But yeah, I did go with Ella here. She was in the power position to decide who went home. And it seems like whoever she told to vote for to each person, they voted for. Like Dylan voted for Jess. So did Liz. You voted for Liz when she told you, and I think that's probably what happened with Zach.
Yeah.
So yeah, Liz, do you
Yeah, I also
thoughts?
That's fair. Now that you mention it, I really should consider her more.
But say
The
who
way
you were gonna say.
what I was gonna say, so I was looking at the challenge itself, and I was gonna say CJ. I felt like he really carried Caroline the most, and I felt like everyone else on the team kind of was just like this, but I felt like with him at the front with Caroline on his shoulders, I felt like he did most of the work of that physical challenge, and they came out with the win. So I have to go with
Yeah,
CJ.
that's super fair. He also is, I think he's in a good spot in terms of like his Gabby and Olivia, I think, are maybe looking at him, but he has that like 3-person alliance that like he's with, so
yeah, I have continued to be impressed with CJ, as well as I had Caroline as my runner-up as well. The Bad Bitches Only alliance is doing really well. I will say Allie seems to be in a more dangerous position, mostly because Liam blew up her game. So
yeah.
But CJ and Caroline they're gaming well together, and they're in a good spot on the Succulents tribe for sure.
So who are we going with?
I guess maybe we should just do majority rules for Ella, CJ runner up.
All right. Ella is our second, is a two-time episode MVP.
Yeah.
Really great season for Ella so far. So with that, we will close out episode 3 deep dive with our beautiful contestant Liz. Thank you for being here. And with that, ma'ams are signing off.